Hello, and thanks for tuning in to the Nintendo Power Checklist. I'm Dr. Yakman here, going through my own personal issues in Nintendo Power magazine and giving you a rundown on collector's tips and what comes with each volume so that you know what to look for when you're collecting this stuff. Yes, I have all the alternate covers. As you can see, we're covering 1997 now, which this is volume, I believe it's 92 or 93. We'll check here. Yeah, this is volume 92, sorry. I believe this one was a newsstand one, that's why I didn't have the barcode, or else they didn't put the barcode on it because IG-88 took up too much space. I forgot what the numbers were for these, but these were the 4 covers for Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. The hero, Dash Rendar. Most people got that. I don't know if that was a subscriber exclusive or what. And a lot of people got this one too, the Stormtrooper. Boba Fett was hard to get. Mine, unfortunately, has a hole all the way through it. Somebody was planning on popping these into a binder or something. I don't know. I didn't know that when I bought it. I bought it online later on because, the one that I had, I believe, was the Stormtrooper one, and then I found this one in a store somewhere. And then this one, thank you to my manager at GameSwap because he found it easily on Etsy. We have an Etsy store on there, so check us out. But he found it and got it for me, and it's in really nice shape. This is one of the more expensive of the Nintendo Power magazines because it is, I think they may have printed, I couldn't find it, they may have printed on the inside what the averages were, but I want to say that it was something like IG-88 was definitely the least. I want to say 10%, so 1 in 10. And then he was 2 in 10, so he was 20%. And then he was 30 or 40, and then he was the rest. So up in the corner here, you can see it makes a mural with all of them together. And you want to see that mural now? Well, here you go. See the background? It's outside of Mos Eisley. So that's pretty cool, huh? And they positioned, it's funny, they positioned the DK Donkey Kong Country 3 emblem in different places and the UPC in different places in order to make them all fit in here. But yeah, there you go. For this volume, now that we're done with the covers, there was another calendar like there was at the beginning of last year for 1997, January through June with Mario Kart 64, and then July through December, again, Mario Kart 64. That was the centerfold there. You saw this white thing here. We'll go over that later. And then there was a comic for Shadows of the Empire. This was continuing from last year. I believe this one's episode 4, 4th installment, or I should say installment 4 of Shadows of the Empire. That was on the Nintendo 64 box. They had a Stormtrooper from Shadows of the Empire on it, and yet it was not a launch game. So it was a little goofy, but they covered it in Nintendo Power magazine with the comic book and everything. And so this was that white thing in there, by the way. These are controller pack for the Nintendo 64, PAK. We spell the pack with PAK. So you can do your controller pack stickers there. I dropped my phone. Sorry about that. But what I was saying before about Shadows of the Empire, it ended up not being a launch game, but they promoted it up and until then. So, and then at the back of the magazine, I would sometimes enter these contests, but then I didn't want to tear the stuff out of the magazine, and I didn't want to. But this was a contest to get all kinds of goodies, and I was right on the questions. But it was a scratch and play game here, so that was at the back of the magazine. And as a pack-in for the magazine, now it could be that the reason why this IG88 does not have a barcode on it was because it was on the outside. I kind of doubt it. I don't know. I'm not too sure exactly why. But this was a pack-in. It was Nintendo Power's 64 top tips for Nintendo 64 games. Most of them being Mario 64 because that was the big game still. Now we're on to volume 93, which is February of 1997. Mario Kart on the cover. And GoldenEye. Man, this was huge. I mean, would Bond be back where it is today without GoldenEye? No, I don't think so. As a franchise and, as a video game, of course. This was amazing, and that's Famke Janssen, by the way, who plays Jean Grey in the X-Men movies, if you didn't know. And, yeah, crazy stuff. That was the centerfold, and on the back of the centerfold there is Star Wars Shadows of the Empire tips and stuff. So, and speaking of Shadows of the Empire, here is the climactic sequence. So this probably is the last one. I think this is installment 5 of Shadows of the Empire. They got Luke in there. Turok Dinosaur Hunter is the cover boy for 94, volume 94 of March 1997. Inside there's a centerfold for FIFA Soccer 64, and on the back of that is some Killer Instinct combos. This is crazy. They got Kim Woo, they've got Maya, they've got TJ Combo, they got B Orchid, they got all your favorites from Killer Instinct Gold, which was on Nintendo 64. In the back of the book, or in the back of the magazine, right before the back cover, is Mario Kart 64 cards. They're plastered, or they're stuck in there still. This is the Super Power Supplies catalog for spring of 1997. This would have come around March of 97 and around the volume 94. Blast Core is the cover for, as you can see, it doesn't tell me the thing because this is near the end. Don't be a half-wit. Renew inside. And these renewal things are crazy. I've collected some of the renewals. Some of them had wraparound covers. Some of them just had a sticker. Some of them had this kind of thing where they actually printed on the magazine over other stuff even, just to say, hey, look, dude, you need to renew. But we are at, what was March? This is April 1997. And here is Doom 64. That's a big deal. I mean, Doom, man, that was huge. And here's Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey. I remember this because my nephews and my friend a couple doors down from me, before he moved away, they all played hockey, ice hockey, street hockey. So yeah, this is some tips and stuff there. And now we're on to volume 96, which is May, and it has Doom 64 on the cover. The centerfold of this magazine is Lost Vikings 2. Still making Super Nintendo was still going strong, even after the 64 launched. And here's Donkey Kong Country 3. These are, what is this? Barnacle Banana Bird Tour. So this is like a map of the different places that I think he can take you to. I can't remember exactly how it works. It's been a long time since I played Donkey Kong Country 3. So, and then there's my address. Come stalk me. No, actually, I don't live there anymore. But Clay Fighter 63 and a third. Isn't that cute? Isn't that funny? It's volume 97, which is June. We're halfway through the year. You'll notice there's not as many inserts in these. They were slowly doing away with the Superpower Supplies catalog and the Superpower Club in general. They maybe lost some subscribers because of the whole staple binding, and because 64, I mean, it was big, don't get me wrong, it was a huge deal, especially in the first year, but, you know, other magazines were starting to get big, and, you know, PlayStation had their own magazine. I think a couple of different magazines. There was a fan run one, and there was also other magazines like EGM had their own offshoots of, you know, PlayStation magazines, and then there was, you know, the official ones or whatever, Ziff Davis, blah blah blah, and all that crap. But anyways, so you'll notice that, you know, they go back to the centerfolds and the regular binding and not the staple binding. So there is less stuff in 97. This was the year that I graduated, by the way. Centerfold is Star Fox 64. I still believe is the best Star Fox. They've kind of run Star Fox into the ground a little bit, and then they wonder why it's not, you know, wasn't selling, and I don't know. I think they were a little bit wrong about how the franchise was supposed to work or whatever. But, you know, as fans, obviously the 64 one did very well, and the first one did very well. There's been other ones too, and not saying that they're horrible or bad or anything. It's just like 64 was the top tier pinnacle. It was great. On the back of that centerfold, there is Turok Dinosaur Hunter. There's a bunch of maps in here. Check it out. And now there is a Blast Corps comic. This I think only lasted for 3 volumes, and this was not some kind of deal with Dark Horse Comics where they had their own separate comic. I think this was just something that they put in here to give more story. Blast Corps was an awesome game. Kind of an overlooked gem from Rare and from on the Nintendo 64. So check that out. Now we're at volume, I believe that's 98, which is July. Wow. And that's Star Fox 64, my boy. King Griffey Jr. This was after he, you know, like I said in the last video, Nintendo were the keepers of the Seattle Mariners. And so this is Major League Baseball featuring King Griffey Jr. Also, Nintendo had like a Nintendo Sports line that they were trying to push, NS. So that was a funny thing. This is a first glimpse at Banjo-Kazooie, which I think is awesome. On the back of this ended up kind of blurry, but this is Blast Corps. This is showing all the different... There was a bunch of secrets in Blast Corps, not just after you beat the game, but there was... Like, they put, like, a Blast Corps version of Pac-Man in it. There was... You could get to the moon and try to, you know... The premise of Blast Corps is pretty awesome. You just destroy buildings that are in the way of this missile that's coming through a pathway, and if it makes contact with any of the buildings, then it's a nuclear reaction. And I did like the characters weren't like a huge thing, and the story wasn't like a huge thing in Blast Corps, but this fleshed it out more in the comic. So this is the second episode 2. And then at the back of this magazine, just like the Mario Kart cards, there were these cards that I've kept in my magazine. These were the Star Fox members. And then there was also the vehicles, which is, there's the Great Fox, an R-Wing, Landmaster, and I forgot what the submarine was called. But yeah. Now we're on to volume 99, GoldenEye 007. There you go. Which is August of 1997. Banjo-Kazooie, there he is. And that was the centerfold. The back of the centerfold is Star Fox 64. There's some maps and tips and tricks and stuff. And also in this volume is the third and final episode of Blast Corps comic. 100 issue volume 100. This was a milestone. And I don't think that there was anything extra for subscribers or anything, but there was this, as you can see, this little wraparound. Well, it wasn't a wraparound, but it was like a fold out part of the cover. They're just showing the first volume, so. And in the centerfold, they show the first volume up front. It's or up top. It's the Fun to the 100th Power. They show all the covers, and this goes all the way to 49, which is Battletoads. And then on the back of that centerfold is the other part, which is 50 was a big deal when they had Link's Awakening. It was the gold issue, or gold volume. Talked about that before in previous years. And then it goes all the way down to, there you go, you got 100. So yeah. This was, I don't know, understand, they put like a thick newsprint paper, or not paper, but like card stock almost in here, and it was for subscribing, and then I guess you could, if you got a friend to sign up, then and then they've done this before in the past, but this was kind of like a weird insert that they put in there, so that was kind of goofy. This is one of the last Superpower Supplies catalog, although they don't, they play it down that it's Superpower Supplies catalog. But as you can see, there's a gold watch, Nintendo Power 100. There's a gold Game Boy Pocket, Nintendo Power 100. Then there's the gold Nintendo 64 controller, which previously the only way to get this was to win the contest, which I had done. And I also had one that had the sticker, but I can't find the sticker. The sticker had started to peel off. That's what this is. It's a little decal right here. It was embossed, and it was really cool. I wish I could find that. I can't find it. But there was a contest for getting the best time in Mario Kart or whatever, and my name was in the magazine. I can't find it. I wish I could find it. I don't know if I accidentally ended up selling it, because if you got your name in the magazine, like in the letters to the editor or whatever, it stayed in all of them. But if it was like a local thing, they tried to put in more people from that local area. They would have different prints of the magazine. To my understanding, I could be wrong about that, but I know that I had seen my name in one, but not in another. And the other one was one that I had ordered from out of state because a cover was bad or something like that. So I wanted to get a better cover, and I ordered it on eBay, blah, blah, blah. So there was this Nintendo Power magazine gold t-shirt. And this was fall 1997. This was, that was the way to get it. And then also you could get it through the magazine or through the Power Supplies catalog. But then Toys R Us brought out the gold controller too, so then anybody could get the gold Nintendo 64 controller. But the earliest and the way to get it before was to win that contest, then through the Power Supplies catalog, and then through Toys R Us. Blah, blah, blah. That's enough about that. We are at volume 101, which is October 1997, Extreme G. Now, I'll have to tell you something. For whatever reason, the Nintendo 64, and you could say because early on they had Mario Kart 64 and then things like Diddy Kong Racing, but early on, Nintendo 64 was known as the racing system. There was tons of, even Ridge Racer, which was a staple for PlayStation, ended up coming over to Nintendo 64 because they had Beetle Adventure Racing, they had Penny Racers, they had Micro Machines, they had Hot Wheels, they had the Cruisin' USA World and Exotica games. and then there was these games like F-Zero, like Extreme G, that, I mean, Nintendo 64 was known as a racing game console, which was kind of weird out of nowhere that happened. Here's Madden 64. Has the centerfold, and then on the back of the centerfold you got Tetrasphere, which is awesome, by the way. Oh, excuse me. And there's some combos and tips for that. And then it says Quarterback Club takes on Madden 64. So it was kind of like funny. It was a big deal that when Madden 64 came over, they didn't even, EA was crappy, and they didn't even call it like Madden of whatever that year it was. They just called it Madden 64. Like that was the only Madden they were going to bring to it, and blah blah blah. They ended up bringing over other Maddens, of course, but at the time and still today, EA kind of craps on Nintendo. But it was funny because Nintendo put on the cover the competition while there still was competition. Before, like, they had the Blitz games and they had NFL license. They had Quarterback Club. They had other games in the way before, like Joe Montana and you know, all this other stuff. But you know, Madden, EA ended up buying the rights to do Nintendo's, or to do NFL games, and then they stopped making them for Nintendo platforms. It was a goofy situation. We're coming off a big, heavy sports era with the Genesis and the Super Nintendo, and going into Nintendo 64, it had 4-player built in, so that was kind of a push for sports games. I was never really into sports games, but I just think that it's funny that they put this on the cover, NFL Quarterback Club 98, and then they say, well, there's competition for Madden 64. EA, you held back on not, you know, bringing the game over, and then you bring it over, and then boom, when you know, there's actually competition. It's got Brett Favre on the cover. And then here's Diddy Kong Racing, which is freaking awesome. And Top Gear, there's the Top Gear games. Here's the racing games again, telling you. On the back of that is 63 1/3 Clay Fighter. There's some combos and Muddy Massacre, and they can go over the different characters in the game on the back of that centerfold. This is the Superpower Supplies catalog for winter of 1997. Winter 97 catalog would have come around November of 97 and around volume 102. And Cover Boy for December, we're at the last volume, volume 103 for 1997, is Diddy Kong Racing. And this was big too, 4-player, you know, the polygons that the Nintendo 64 was able to produce at the time were better than PlayStation, and it was known as a wrestling system too. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was wrestling games on PlayStation as well, but like 64 had a ton of them. And this is one of them, WCW versus NWO, New World Order, World Tour, with Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and there's, I forgot what they called him. Did they call him the Giant? I don't know, but it's like, that's the Big Show now, but, you know, whatever. Yeah, that was the centerfold, and on the back of the centerfold there is Mortal Kombat, what was this called? Mythology, which was like a beat-em-up starring Mortal Kombat characters, I believe. And people wanted more of this kind of stuff. I mean, Final Fight ended up turning into Street Fighter, if you know the history. But Mortal Kombat always started off as a tourney fighter. But they put story modes into Mortal Kombat now that are like kind of go crazy. But they had Shaolin Monks, they had this Sub-Zero offshoot game, and people love those, you know. And as my last picture here is, you'll see the belly is in there like 4 times, but that's because there's the 4 alternate covers for January. But on the binding here for the year of 1997, they have printed Mario from Mario 64. This is my magazine's sitting on the shelf. This is the second shelf now. There's 3 shelves of the actual magazine, and the first shelf has a bunch of extra stuff on there too, a bunch of special issues, and then the bottom shelf on this bookcase is all the players' guides, and we will be going over all of that after I'm done with all the volumes. I'm now past 100. There's 285, so more than a third there, and we're in the year 1997. The magazine went till 2012, I believe. No, was it 2012? I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. You can look it up on Google, but stay tuned for next month when we cover the year of 1998.